Are incubators really helping early stage startup founders?
It's impossible for one organization to completely cover all the support that an early stage startup needs. Now, think of extremely rural and small town, tier 3, tier 4. Even something as simple as that is a dent in the local ecosystem there.
How fast the applications get rejected in incubation?
Chances are, with the number of organizations that are there today, there is some program or the other you'll always get into.
Hi guys, welcome to Community Questions podcast number 2. And we have Mr. Girish with us today. So he has a really great knowledge in the early stage startup things, the incubation programs, accelerator programs, venture studios, and he's been closely working with many such programs. We'll be stealing his knowledge today. And Girish, firstly, welcome to the Community Questions podcast.
Thank you, Teja.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here and to have this chat with you.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a context around how this podcast is designed. So we have a community, as you know, and so many questions have come from the community. We have just rolled out a form to collect the questions, and a bunch of questions were especially focused on incubation programs, accelerators, venture studios, and raising grants and all. So that's the main reason that I've called you, since you are the subject matter expert, domain expert in this. So I'm very much looking forward to listen from you.
Super Teja. I think what you guys are doing at 18 Startup is extremely exciting.
Yeah.
And happy to share whatever I've learned through my journey with the larger audience, and
Yeah. Thank you.
looking forward to it.
Anyways, I would really like to know your journey and your journey with incubation programs and all these early stage startup things. Could you please?
So, I had a very conventional path in the beginning. I did my engineering. I grew up in Delhi, studied in a very good school, one of the top schools of Delhi, and then I did my engineering from Chennai.
Mhm.
Pretty much, I wasn't like many others during my era. I was quite confused about what to do, and that's how I landed up in engineering. And
Mhm.
post engineering, it was also the time when it was the IT era where IT companies were recruiting in dozens and thousands rather. And I started my career with Infosys. Worked there for a couple of years and then realized very quickly that uh, that work fills a large part of your life, right? Like pretty much 5, 6 days a week, and for years it's going to consume you from morning to night. And I just asked myself at the end of those 2 years, is it something that I see myself doing for the rest of my life? And the answer was a clear no. So I quit that, and then I didn't know what to do next, but the natural next steps seemed to be doing management. So I did management from Anna University in Chennai. One of the advantages, one of the privileges of doing management from there was it is extremely economical because it is subsidized by the government. So I finished my MBA in what, under 1 lakh rupees, which is unheard of in today's times. Uh, but it also gave me the flexibility to experiment after my MBA. Like typically, if you're in a conventional B school these days, uh, it costs like what, 15, 20 and upwards to do such a course. But then because of the advantage of my course, I was able to experiment, and I was very clear that I wanted to find something really exciting. Like I wanted to find the larger purpose of work. And that was also the time when all those questions started hitting me: the meaning of life, the purpose of working
Yeah.
5, 6 days, what is it that we are doing on a daily basis. And that's when I realized I came across this fellowship opportunity, which gave me an opportunity to work with rural entrepreneurs. So currently it's called the India Fellows Program. So I joined that, and that was when I sort of forayed into slightly unconventional territories. For the next 3 to 4 years, I was completely working in rural areas, living in rural areas. We lived in Nilgiris and Tamil Nadu. lived in rural Orissa, rural Maharashtra, worked a lot with small scale entrepreneurs, small businesses, and a lot of my work was around using some of the concepts I've learned in management, using those principles to sort of help these small entrepreneurs. Uh, I used to help with getting orders, helping them with credit, access to loans, uh, sort of the daily grind of these businesses, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's how I started off. That's where I sort of my initial journey of working with entrepreneurs started. Uh, Sort of after 3 years, I took a little detour in my career. I jumped into a corporate role. I started working with an early stage tech startup in Bangalore. Uh, and pretty much I got an opportunity for the first time in my life to see a startup from an idea to uh, it's probably 8-9 crores startup right now, but uh, seeing from a like grow from to like a 50-60 member startup, that's where I got an opportunity to see that full journey, and it's often underrated how the amount of confidence, the amount of learning, the amount of uh, uh, like self belief that just participating in that journey from 0 to 1 gives you an idea take full shape into a full-fledged institution. I had the privilege of closely working with the founder there, and sort of at that point in life, I realized having seen so many entrepreneurial journeys, starting right from work in rural areas to working in Bangalore and Mumbai with tech entrepreneurs, I sort of the shift happened from I want to be an entrepreneur to I want to play the role of helping early stage founders. That's where at that time I did not even realize that there was this full industry, if I can call it, around incubation. There was just that seed that I want to take up roles which helps me uh, work closely with early stage startup founders and help them on their journey. I've seen how difficult it is in having to make payroll and working through all the regulations, in having to find customers, that entire cycle. And I saw the challenges, and somewhere the shift happened within me that I want to work with founders to help them on their journeys, especially the early stages, which when it's so difficult. And uh, and then I got an opportunity to work with a very early stage incubator. And now it's been 7 years. I've worked with various, worked on various programs, couple of organizations, incubators, accelerators. I've implemented various programs supporting startups. I've been involved in uh, uh, fundraising and grants for organizations that support early stage startups. So one thing led to the other in my career, I feel like, and this seems to be the right space for me where I am right now. And I'm happy to sort of, I mean, I've had the privilege of learning through having interacted with so many founders in my career so far.
I can really very easily see that you were looking forward to work with early stage startup founders. But how supportive were these incubation programs uh, helping you to help those early stage startup founders?
So, when you say incubator, so where does this word incubator come from?
Hmm.
Right? Like, it's very interesting. It's actually derived from the healthcare field, right? Like, when a baby is born, and when you want to keep a baby under very controlled conditions, like temperature, pressure,
Yeah.
you keep the baby in an incubator.
Pressure. Yeah.
It's a controlled environment where everything, right from temperature, pressure, it provides you the critical life support required to keep you alive.
Yeah.
So it's a system designed to help you with controlling the environment so that you don't die. Because we know the reality that 95% of the startups that don't see the light of the day, right? Like, so an incubator is supposed to play that role where They're providing critical life support to these startups and keeping them alive, keeping them on their journey, and helping them thrive on their entrepreneurial paths. So, incubators help with a variety of resources, right? Sometimes as simple as providing office spaces to having a panel of mentors. Mentors could be business experts who understand business 360 degrees, could be functional experts who help with HR, marketing, branding, could be sector experts like the different sectors that the startup operates in: agriculture, healthcare, renewable energy. So sometimes it's so critical to have these mentors on your journey, and an incubator is supposed to sort of play that role where they're providing these mentors resources.
Yeah.
Also, some early stage capital, some seed funding. All these are critical to sort of survive and thrive in your early stages, and definitely, like I would say, the important thing is to get advice and wisdom of seasoned entrepreneurs who have been there, done that. And there are certain frameworks which are well researched, well documented, which many entrepreneurs who've been there, done that have experienced, like similar problems. Like, okay, how do I find my co-founder? How do I go about thinking about my MVP? How do I go to market with this basic product? Which are the features I should add, which I should not? Is my idea worth it or not? Should I pursue it? Should I put, is this an idea worth pursuing? Right? These are certain questions which many entrepreneurs have figured out, right? People who have uh, been there, done that. And incubators are supposed to take this knowledge and provide it to uh, these upcoming budding entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So it's a safe environment, it's a controlled environment, uh, and different programs offer different kinds of support, and it plays a critical role in on the in the journey of entrepreneurs. And luckily in India now, over the last 8 to 10 years, we have quite a thriving ecosystem
Man.
of incubators, accelerators, venture studios. Though the terms are sometimes a bit confusing, though they do have their variations of what each mean, but essentially all these organizations are there to support early stage startups, right?
Okay. So this question is out of curiosity. I mean, you were continuously saying that incubators are supposed to do this, but I mean, out of curiosity, nothing offensive. Like, are incubators really helping early stage startup founders? I mean, in the present market, I'm asking this question in a perspective, knowing that most of the incubators are being run by government people or academicians. What is your take on it?
So I feel every incubator has its strengths uh, and pluses, right? Uh, in India, we have incubators that are attached to uh, certain industries who are attached to academic institutions. Primarily, many of them are attached to academic institutions.
Yeah.
Even within academic institutions, some are run by management institutions, some are run by engineering and tech institutions. Uh, and the space is so vast that it's impossible for one organization to completely cover all the support that an early stage startup needs, right? Like think of, so we have incubators which are supporting coffee, for example, exclusively focused around coffee. So all the support that they are providing to their portfolio startups is completely so strongly sector focused, right? And the panel of mentors and the labs and equipments that they have are all sort of geared to support startups in that space, right? So we have, I say, uh, uh, there are incubators which are on the lower end of the spectrum, which provide minimal support, to incubators that are extremely high touch and high resource support organizations, right?
Okay.
So I don't want to comment and say that this organization is good or that organization is bad, which is pretty much in any industry you have organizations across the spectrum, right? But many of them, many incubators are as simple as providing co-working spaces and organizing simple sessions, right? Now think of extremely rural and small town, tier 3, tier 4. Even something as simple as that is a dent in the local ecosystem there, right? Like you are organizing a session by an entrepreneur on their journey, for example, right? Or you're providing some small space to startups or innovators who are working in that region. Something as simple as that is also extremely beneficial for startup. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, which would look at a startup in a holistic way, right from your fundraising needs to your hiring needs to helping you figure out how to find co-founders to having agencies which are into accounting, branding, legal to support you on your execution, to helping you build your strategic plans, to helping you go to market with the right distribution partners and sector partners. So you have across the spectrum, and every incubator or accelerator would somewhere lie along that spectrum, which all of us in this industry, if I can call it, have to self-reflect and figure out where we stand here.
Yeah.
Right. Overall, the objective is to provide services and be in service of uh, entrepreneurs, of passionate founders who are there to change the world. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that startups also start figuring out which organizations uh, uh, can provide them with what resource. Right? I don't think it's possible for one organization to provide everything. Each organization has their advantages, has their uh, pluses, and startups have to start partnering with multiple institutions to sort of move forward on that journey. Right? So there are the good thing is as compared to 10, 15 years back, that there is a thriving ecosystem in India of these organizations like incubators, accelerators, venture studios, uh, which are there to support early stage startups. So uh, I think uh, that's how we should look at this, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So previously you said ki there are critical terms like incubation, accelerator, venture studio. So it is very difficult for an early stage startup to even figure out ki where will I fit in these three. Can you briefly say what is the difference between these three things? I mean, incubation, accelerator, and venture studio. In a
So,
very simple way.
so all these three organizations are into supporting early stage startups. So that's the common sort of goal for each of them. Incubators are typically extremely early stage, uh, and typically they help with some space, some mentorship, some guidance, and some seed capital. And typically, incubators don't have a defined timeline, or even if it's there, most of the incubation programs are longer, like 1 to 2 to 3 years sometimes. Accelerators are more, they have a fixed time period, right? And the focus is on taking the startup from one stage to the other, clearly, right? While incubation is focused on creating an environment where the startup can thrive and prevent mortality of the startup, the accelerator is a defined timeline where a bunch of resources are injected into the startup, which the startup needs, and to run with those resources and move forward to the next stage quickly. So there's accelerators typically there's a notion of speed associated with it. Venture studios are slightly different. Uh, Venture studios are more like how the word came is they're more like factories, right? Factories where startups can be made and at volume,
Okay.
right? So venture studios typically are literally a factory for startups. So they venture studios are supposed to have a full ecosystem for creating startups at scale at volume. Right. So right from idea generation to idea validation to creating your prototypes to proof of concepts to uh, having your first version of the product uh, to getting to the market, getting feedback, iterating, building on your product. So this whole, if you look at this chain of events like a factory, a venture studio would have the equipment, the tools for uh, for this entire assembly line,
Yeah.
right? So it would have at scale, they would be able to churn out startups one after the other. That's the whole idea of. And typically, venture studios have a very deep relationship with the founders.
Hmm.
Literally, sometimes uh, even the ideas are generated within the venture studio,
Hmm.
and it's a very deep relationship, very holistic, 360-degree, high touch, uh, and providing all the pieces for the startup to grow. So that's sort of the difference. Almost like venture studios are like co-founders
Hmm.
uh, in the startup journey.
Yeah.
So these are the subtle differences between often used interchangeably, but pretty much at a high level, the objective is to create startups, to build startups, to help build startups.
Yeah.
That
Oh, great. So I'll be asking this question in a early stage perspective. I mean, early stage in the sense very early stage. So think of a startup enthusiast, aspiring entrepreneur, you can say, and he or she has an idea. Uh, they think it's a great idea, and so they are currently looking for some support for the startup. Do they even need to look for an incubator, or should they work on their idea and then look for an incubator? Simply to say, what is the requirement to get into such programs?
so oftentimes even incubator like there's a huge interest within India uh, to start startups of late, right?
Mhm.
Like there is an entrepreneurial wave happening. And anything that happens at scale in India, there's always a challenge of bandwidth,
Hmm.
right? So even if you consider incubators, they have a certain bandwidth in terms of resources,
Yeah.
in terms of being able to work with only X number of startups, right? So in India, whatever you do, you're going to bump into some competition, right? Like, but definitely uh, as an aspiring entrepreneur, I would highly encourage you to look out for organizations which are near you or which are sometimes even not near you, right? Like sometimes also okay to shift geographies, but understand the strengths of these organizations, of these incubators, accelerators, uh, and look at some of their portfolio startups, look at the talk to the people they've been supporting, look at the kind of support they bring to the table, be it in terms of mentorship, be it in terms of sectoral expertise, be it in terms of certain uh, equipment or infrastructure that they bring to the table? Is it in certain things in terms of funding, certain things in terms of the community of other founders, and just generally understand these things, right? And I would definitely say in today's day and age, uh, uh, one should look out for support, right? Like you get better access to investors, you get better access to the government. The government is also actively looking to support innovators, entrepreneurs, and these incubators are a medium through which government is doing its work. Uh, so I would definitely say I don't see any reason why one should not reach out to these incubators. Definitely 100%. If I'm an aspiring entrepreneur in today's day and age in India, I would go out and start searching for these incubators and accelerators. Continue to do your work. Most of these incubators would have, or most of these programs, if I can say, would have certain filters they would ideally look for one, a strong commitment or a passion in the founder, right? So first of all, you need to be, as a founder, the founder needs to be clear that it's a path they want to take, right? It is a tough path, but they need to be clear that they want to embark on this journey. So that itself is a big check mark for a lot of these programs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Second is start doing your research, right? Like start reaching out to people, start executing on ground, be it in terms of prototypes or talking to people, talking to potential customers, start validating those ideas. All those inputs is what eventually, when you have to pitch to an incubator, will help you, right? Without that groundwork, without that research, it's going to be a little difficult. People are going to punch holes and uh, uh, so uh, reach out if your incubator or if the organization you're reaching out is welcoming you, join those programs. You'll One of the big advantages is, instead of fighting or embarking on this journey alone, you have other people you can lean on for support. So typically, you would have other entrepreneurs who are also working with the incubator. You would have some panel of mentors. Uh, I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. Like if you're starting out in today's day and age, uh, reach out even for experienced entrepreneurs, like even people who started twice, thrice. I would still say that find these organizations, partner with them,
Yeah.
and I don't see any reason why one should not.
Like
Uh, uh,
how fast the applications get rejected in incubation? I mean, any program.
I feel in today's day and age, if you're serious about an idea, which means you're passionate, you want to build your startup, you have fairly clear direction of where you want to move towards, automatically there are certain things on ground you would have done, right? Like certain experimentation, certain prototypes. You would have taken the effort of YouTubing, Googling. Uh, you would have started building your knowledge base to start execution on ground, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the moment you do that, you would automatically stand out from a lot of the other applications, which are literally people have thought of an idea today and they filled in an application in 2 hours, right? So, so if this prior groundwork, uh, so keep it in parallel. Your search for incubators, search for organizations that want to support you. Keep that in parallel to your own groundwork of building your documentation, building your research, uh, doing these micro experiments, right? Talking to relevant stakeholders. So you start building all that parallelly, and chances are, with the number of organizations that are there today, there is some program or the other you'll always get into, right? So, so yeah, like keep it in parallel. Uh, uh, Typically, incubators would look at the background of the founder, the quality of the founder in terms of his capabilities, his or her capabilities, skills, what experience relevant to the problem statement that they want to solve, that they bring to the table. Uh, Start reaching out to potential co-founders and partners on your journey. Uh, these are things that you can do. Start building an advisory board of uh, well experienced people who can guide you in the space that you're building out,
Yeah.
right? So have these senior folks who you can reach out and have part as of your advisory board. So if you do all these things, research the market well, build your pitch decks, uh, not pitch decks in isolation, which are just made with ChatGPT and Google, but which where you've put deep thought into it, where you're talking to multiple stakeholders, uh, a pitch deck which is rooted in reality, I say. So if
Yeah.
you do all this, there's no reason why one cannot crack any of these programs into the extent. So,
Yeah, so actually, this question is going to come a bit late, but since you have talked about pitch deck, so one person from our community asked a very great question. I mean, I think he or she might have faced the brunt of it. So the question is like, I have gone to one incubation program. They've asked me for a 20-page pitch deck, and I've gone to a different program. They have asked me for a 10-page pitch deck, and I've gone to a different program. They haven't asked me any pitch deck, but they asked me a one-pager. So the question is, what is the ideal thing? I mean, what do actually incubators need? In not only incubators, any other program, what do they actually need?
so eventually, all these incubators are looking for people with a drive, right?
Hmm.
Assuming it's a very early stage startup, you're just an individual starting out on your entrepreneurial journey. The best thing that it, incubators, accelerators, any of these programs would look for is do you have what is your background?
Hmm.
Do you have a strong drive and commitment to building a startup,
Yeah.
right? And what are some of the achievements? It could be during school, it could be during college. What are some of these things that you can highlight
Hmm.
to show your potential at a stage where literally you don't have anything else to showcase, right? It's just you,
Hmm.
right? So it's pretty much some of these things that will help you when you're setting out on that journey and talking to incubators. क्या क्वेश्चन था वो भूल गया.
Hmm.
Uh,
Uh,
they're asking for different
different.
questions. ठीक है, ठीक है. So, I mean, yes, every incubator has their own selection framework, and they have their own sort of uh, vision of what kind of founders they want to support.
Hmm.
So it's just part of the journey that you are going to encounter different formats, different requirements from each of these incubators. Uh, Really, I think while the formats might be different, one might ask for 6 pager, one might ask for a pitch of 10 slides, one might ask for a pitch of 20 slides. But fundamentally, there are 5, 6 key things which every incubator will look at. What is the problem that you're solving? Do you have a strong understanding of that?
Hmm.
What is your proposed solution to that problem? Right? What stage are you at?
Hmm.
Do you have prototypes? Do you have proof of concepts? Have you done some experiments on ground? Or do you already have an MVP out there in the market? So all those things are typically what incubators will look at. They look at your team. Is it you alone, or you have like certain people along with you who are supporting you in your startup? And certain things like uh, do you have any patents or awards, your personal achievements, looking at you as a founder. Uh, those are things that incubators at a very early stage look at. Moment you advance on that journey and you get into raising this venture capital funds and all that, the level of scrutiny and detailing and due diligence these organizations do is at a completely different level,
Hmm.
where they'll get into the details of how big your market size is, right? Who are the competitors in your space, uh, uh, valuations, and those sort of things. That's a completely different ballgame,
Hmm.
right? So incubators, it's a quick filter, quick screening that they check off certain key things. And incubators are not in a way they're not out there to actively select, I'll say, but uh, it's a more open environment where they're welcoming of all kinds of
Yeah.
founders, right? But when it comes to sort of venture capital and investing and all, it's more about which one should I pick, right? Like it really goes to, it's really all about uh, what is the highest probability of which one will succeed, which one will not, getting into details of all the analytics of your business. What is the revenue that you're generating? What is your team size?
Hmm.
All those things. What is your USP, which is also something incubators look at, but at a much deeper level, you would encounter. So that world is completely different. Probably that happens as you move forward on your entrepreneurial journey. The incubators, accelerators are more for people who are just starting out and not so much into the idea, but they want to see something, right? Like if an incubator is supporting one founder, probably nine or so many other people do not have that opportunity of being part of that program. So yeah, so these organizations also have to choose wisely.
Yes.
So yeah,